All right, everyone. We are entering the final stretch of programming for today, and we are joined by some of the biggest stars in sports media. We have the CEOs and presidents of 4 of the biggest media companies here with us today. We're going to start with Boardroom, and Midge Purce, of course, followed by NBC Universal, Time Inc., and Televisa Univision. So let's start off with Boardroom. We've got the CEO and co-founder Rich Kleiman, joined by none other than Midge Purce. Everyone in their Southern France chic today, looking good. We are so excited to have the both of you here. I think everyone is familiar with what you do, Midge. Rich, I think folks know who you are. They obviously know your business partner, Kevin Durant. But I was hoping you could just take a second to walk everyone here through what Boardroom is, how it got started, et cetera.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, guys. This is a very nice house. So I've spent my entire career managing talent in sports and music and entertainment. And growing up in New York City, I had the privilege of seeing hip-hop exploding in the 90s and basketball culture around Michael Jordan, the NBA, starting to explode as well. And at that point in my life, I became fascinated by it. So much so that I fascinated by who sat courtside at basketball games, how people got their jobs, and all I wanted to do was work in the sports world. In 1999 or 2000, I tried to start a website at the time that was going to cover the business of hip-hop and sports and music and fashion. And at the time, it was a bit pioneer, but I didn't know anything about the business. And the company, after 2 years and a really big launch party, went out of business, ran out of our money. But from that point on, in a lot of ways, I went and lived everything that I wanted to create. And by managing artists and producers and working on film and TV and then moving into the sports world, I now had lived everything that I wanted this platform to be. And what I realized was where all these worlds were converging at this intersection, there was more influence there than anywhere else. And these theoretical boardrooms that I was now sitting in, that sports had given me this entryway into, some of the most powerful, influential people in the world were in these rooms, and no one understood how. No one could understand how the head of a VC company or the head of a tech company or a business leader could be friends with athletes and artists and musicians. And that was the world that we were living in, and now it's the world that we all know. But when we started this, the idea was to create a brand that really embodied the intersection in the business of sports and entertainment. And we have a traditional digital media platform where we put out daily newsletters and video and audio. We also do events and conferences and activations all year round, and it's all about bringing and galvanizing people together that live at that intersection, and athletes and artists have really bought into the platform, which has made it pretty amazing to see over the last 5 years, from kind of coming up with this idea and building it from scratch to start seeing it come to life has been a special time.
And quick question for you on that. You mentioned that like the tech entrepreneur crowd suddenly it's now a trend that they're becoming friends with the athletes, but it wasn't necessarily that way before. What was the catalyst for that change?
No, I think there was always intersection, and I think there was always anomalies when athletes got to the highest level. Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, they were obviously in rooms and in places and in boardrooms with people from all over the world. But what had started happening, and LeBron was a real impact on this whole landscape, was that you could start to build these businesses for yourself while you were playing. And artists were starting to build careers for themselves while they were putting their music out and starting to invest in companies and build enterprise. And with that came all of this connectivity where you saw all these same people in the same rooms at all these like flagship moments on the calendar, like a Cannes Lion or an NBA All-Star Weekend or a Grammy Weekend. There were people from all these walks of life that were all in the same room. And to me, that was a whole world in itself. And that was a world that I had lived in and grown up in. So to become this authentic voice of storytelling around that space and who everyone was, what everyone was working on, why everyone was in the same room, and creating all these different kind of iterations of what that space was, covering tech, covering sports, music, but all of it, if you understood the space, all made sense.
Midge, you now are in those rooms. You're here with us at Cannes. How did you go from being an athlete to a person who's now a creator, who's making video series, who is a media mogul yourself? Like, how did you put yourself in that position that Rich is talking about?
It's really interesting because I don't really see it as a duality in that sense. I don't think I became a creator. I think most people have that twofold ingenuity in them. You either kind of have it or you don't. So I've always had that entrepreneurship in my character. I think it was about getting in the right rooms with the right people. Kind of wait, Rich, lock in. Okay. Getting into the rooms with the right people like Rich and being able to have those conversations with individuals who can actually help you get those things off the ground and have those conversations that give you that pathway.
So for those of you who don't know, Midge obviously plays for Gotham FC, and Boardroom has an investment arm that invests in Gotham FC. So that's, I'm assuming, how the two of you met and connected?
Yes. Does that sound right?
Okay. I actually don't know.
Yeah, I think we just met, but we know each other.
Yeah, one of those things. Everybody knows Rich.
Everyone knows Rich. Okay, so you made this investment in Gotham FC, and you're making more investments in women's sports. Why start the investment side? Why not just focus on the media side?
Why did I wear this sweater?
It looks good.
More
You
of a
match the
question.
chair.
Do you want to switch?
I'm also ready.
So much better. It's like I'm in trouble.
Time out stage.
Well, I think for us, there was always an interest in investing in sports. And I thought early on, as I started seeing all of these emerging sport opportunities and league opportunities, that this was a great way for us to get some exposure into investing. It's very expensive to invest in sports teams. I also believed in all of these opportunities. I believed in all of these sports individually. The business model might not necessarily look like what people had seen traditionally from the NBA and NFL, but I believed in all of these sports and how ravenous these communities were. And most importantly, the idea that these athletes were the best in the world. When you're the best in the world in something, I want to invest into that. So in the beginning, we were investing in these opportunities. It was great storytelling for the platform. It was great communities for us to tap into. It was great opportunity to learn the sports ownership space, but it was also a great investment. And that's the same way we looked at women's sports. We didn't look at women's sports because the space was heating up. Kevin and I have been supportive through Kevin's Nike business and through our media platform for a decade around women's sports, but it wasn't because all of a sudden the investment opportunity looked great. Gotham FC as itself was an incredible investment opportunity. The brand is awesome. It's in New York City. The women that play in the NWSL are the best in the world, and it felt like a broken business model, not that it wasn't going to work. So to be able to play any part in helping that business model, right? Because what we need are great ownerships across the board, ownership cap tables.
Sophia's helping you out.
Bald with a sweater on and a beaming sun is crazy. Crazy. First time in Cannes. But yeah, so, and it rang true. You know, we've been able to tap into incredible community that Gotham has. They've now gotten an incredible new ownership cap table, which I think we helped play a part in. And some of the best players in the world want to play for this brand now, and we believe in that. But most importantly, now we can support that investment by storytelling and activating and creating a real bridge to the team, which I don't think a lot of the investment cap tables are able to do a lot.
Yes, that duality is super interesting and unique. Midge, you told me on the phone the other day that, you know, investing in women's sports, it's not like a moral high ground investment. It's just good business. For Rich, that good business is the flywheel of being able to tell the stories. What are other ways that you see investing in women's sports as being just good business?
I think all the ways that you invest in women's sports, it should be business. I don't think any female athlete asks you to look at us and say, oh, this feels good. Like, I really just want to give you money so that I feel better about myself. Like, nobody cares, and we don't care about it that way either. We're like, no, that's stupid if you don't want to put money into this because you're going to get a return. I think the way I would look at it is a really big distinction between how men's sports is marketed and how women's sports is marketed is I think people are more interested in female storylines than they are in men's storylines. Men can kind of just profit on statistics and just like kind of the merit and the pureness of the sport more than women can. But once you tap into the storylines of what's actually happening on the court, I mean, look at the WNBA. I mean, everybody wants to know what's going on with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. Like, it's that storyline that kind of catapulted everything into this larger playing field. So I think leading into the storylines and having a more specific approach to how you're marketing women's sports would be my take.
One of the things Flaude mentioned earlier today was that everyone has a story to tell. Not everyone is comfortable telling it. What made you feel comfortable in starting to tell your story through media? Was it that something that's always been within you, or you saw it as an opportunity and you took it?
I'll be honest, I'm a forward. And so most forwards and wingers, they have a little bit of an ego. And I thought my story was interesting. And I thought maybe people would want to hear it. That being said, I have so many friends and players around the league who have such incredible stories. And that's where the show, The Offseason, came out of. I was like, you guys are way too interesting for people not to know about you. And now we're telling their stories. And I think people are going to fall in love with them.
So I want to get to the off season, but quickly, can you just give us a few seconds on what your story is?
Oh, a few seconds.
Well, you know, we only got a few minutes here.
My story is I'm from DC. I grew up in Silver Spring. I played professional soccer player for U.S. Women's National Team and Gotham FC, and I think that's how I would just round it up in a few seconds.
And in terms of the off season, so the off season is a show that you have co-created with Alexis Ohanian. When does it come out? Where can we watch it? Give us a few teasers of what to expect.
Yeah, so the Offseason is the first docu-reality series of any women's sports team or player ever. It's a new genre of its own, and we are releasing the trailer publicly tomorrow and announcing our distribution partner. So that's very exciting. So I can't tell you. I can't tell you what it is now. But it's a show about 11 players across the NWSL who all come together during the off season to live in one house and train together and party together. And I think people will find it really refreshing because the drama isn't the traditional drama you see on reality television with, you know, Real Housewives, all shows I love, Bad Girls Clubs, Real Housewives, all of it. The drama is like, I just got traded in the off season. What do I do now? Or I just got injured and I have to report to preseason in 2 weeks. Like, what am I going to do? It's really authentic and refreshing, and it's a side of sports that you don't see, and it's a lens that you get to see athletes through that we've never shown before. So I think it's going to be really exciting.
And outside of the off season, what else are you doing to sort of boost your personal media brand? Is it focusing on social media? Is it doing events like this?
I think me personally, I'm not as into my personal social media as much it is, but it really is different business ventures that I think help promote the game and my friends and fellow athletes.
And so outside of the off season, what other business ventures are you working on?
I don't want to announce them yet, but
can't-
they're coming.
They're on their way. We will keep an eye out. Rich, you have said that there's a reason there's no Boardroom W. Boardroom just covers the best sports stories. Most of those happen to be about women. Other media companies do it a little bit differently. Can you walk me through the decision as to why you did it that way?
Yeah, I think the focus for us is to cover what's relevant and cover what's important to know in order to kind of exist within this space that we want to be the leading media brand in. And that means that the conversation around women's sports is as relevant and topical as any right now. What I didn't want to do was create a vertical to focus on it for the same reason why women don't want people to invest because they think it's the right thing to do. For us, I want to tell the right stories, and fortunately, the right stories right now are around women's sports and the business of women's sports. And to what you said earlier, I mean, I think it's actually the storylines around women's sports. There's an interesting time now because if you look at men's sports, the NBA especially, it's almost a lost art to talk about the actual sport. The NBA is all about gossip, and it's all about clickbait. And when you see the new show that LeBron launched with JJ Redick, it was refreshing in some ways to hear something created just to talk about basketball at a very high level. When I fell in love with sports, it's because I love sports. I didn't really love the gossip as a young kid. There wasn't gossip. So I think it's a good time now to try to create a storytelling vehicle and different vehicles around women's sports that can lead that movement a bit, where we don't have to fall victim, like what's happening a bit right now with Caitlin Clark, to only talk about the divisiveness and the controversy, when really this is such an incredible time to tell the most incredible stories. So I want to focus on that, and that's our responsibility. And for me, that just means making it front and center on our platform, not renaming it or carving it out and making it anything different than the rest of the content we cover.
Amen to that, Rich. Midge talked about this docuseries that she's doing, and we have to wait till tomorrow to find out where we can see it. But Boardroom is focused on a much different array of mediums. what are you focusing on right now? It's not just newsletters, but it's also podcasts. Like, what are the other ways you're telling those stories?
It's a brand. I'm building a brand. And I think like the way the brand shows up, the traditional media side of it for us, when we were building it, I knew that that wasn't the long game for the business. As someone that was investing at the same time, it's why I didn't start out raising money, because I understood that digital media in itself as a business model was broken. But it was also going to be the quickest way for me to really develop a brand, to consistently put content out, to build a community, and to let people know what our differentiation was. Now it's my job to turn this into a business. So that's why I launched our conference with CNBC. I'm sorry, Axios.
That's okay. We love our friends at CNBC.
But Andrew Sorkin and I, putting together this sports business conference every year in California. We have consumer-facing events, 300, 400, 500 people. We curate dinner series, live talk series, and next year I'll be introducing like a membership component and a level of product that it's not apparel or merch. I don't think that's relevant to having a media brand, but I see our brand in some ways as like business lifestyle. And I think products like that are becoming important again for people aspirational and entrepreneurial, young business minds trying to get into the world. They see some of these things as like a badge. So I'm introducing that. But really it's about the brand and all the different components of the brand. So we'll always extend into areas where I think the brand makes sense and where the brand can grow.
I love that business lifestyle. I'd like to think that's what we are trying to cultivate here today.
Yeah.
Hopefully all are enjoying it. Midge, you are doing the first, right? You're the first all-female women's docu-series around sports. Are you talking to now other athletes and creators that want to do the same thing? Do you think you've started a trend?
I don't know if I've started a trend. I think it's honestly a vision that has been shared. I think it's something that hasn't really been believed in, because kind of like right now, the moment that we're having in women's sports where everyone's paying attention, now there's this belief, it's like, oh, the market is there. Oh, this might be an interesting thing to look at. But I think it would be a disservice to not acknowledge that there are so many other women, not just in my sport, but around the industry, who have incredible ideas like this that would really, really help the league and help sports industry as a whole. I just happen to be lucky enough to have the right people to pull it off.
So that was what I was going to ask you. For those women that have the stories, how did you get from a point where you had an idea about this reality docu-series to the point where it's now getting picked up by a distributor? Like, what did you do to get there?
Oh, I mean, we don't have time for that. It was crazy. It was a really long road, and it was extremely difficult. But at the same time, I think that I have been extremely privileged, and the individuals I've been able to meet with and the credibility I've been able to establish with some of my ideas, it's a lot of luck. I think a lot of people who have been successful in business will acknowledge that's a lot of luck. And just because there's hard work, that doesn't take away that you had some privileges there.
Well, you make your luck, Midge, I would say, for you.
Thank you.
But, you know, to kind of piggyback off of that then, now that you've gotten this project off and it's been a success, do you foresee yourself wanting to get into more docs? Do you want to expand into other types of mediums like the stuff that they do at Boardroom?
Oh, I have so many ideas that I would love to talk about. We don't have time for. I hopefully want to franchise the show. I'd love to go into other sports and talk about those. So yeah, tons of ideas to move forward.
Ooh, it's very Manning of you. Franchise it into other sports. I love that.
He's an owner of Gotham, so you know.
Anyone is an owner of Gotham. That's what it feels like. All right, so at Axios, we like to end all of our newsletters on one fun thing. And so I'm going to ask you both the same question. Rich, what brings someone like you to Cannes outside of, sitting on our stage? Are you mostly meeting with marketers to support your storytelling? Are you meeting with people to help, like Midge, to help do more stories? What does a Cannes look like for an executive like yourself?
Interesting.
Other than sweating.
Yeah, well, I've cooled off actually.
Thank you.
Stay up here for a while now. I didn't focus on making money the first 4 years. I focused on building a brand. I knew how important it was going to be, and I knew that I could continuously pivot and sustain if I built a brand, and I wasn't relying on one show or a big branded content series that someone paid me for, but instead that our brand was what we were recognized for. And now that we are, I'm coming to get all the money. So
That's right. CMOs?
No, but for real, I came to Cannes. I'm speaking a few times. Tomorrow I'm speaking. Thursday I'm speaking, and I'll meet with as many people as possible. I think, trying to educate people at times about why impact is more important than metrics, especially in today's day, and why being able to know what a brand is in real life. You know, when I put an event together and 500 people come, to me, that metrics is more powerful than a billion views that may not be real. So I want to spend as much time with as many people to explain the impact that our business is having and find partners that want to be a part of this kind of ride of growing this brand.
Amazing. And Midge, what does your schedule look like here at Cannes?
I mean, this is the first. We were just talking about this backstage. I'm injured, and that's why I'm here. I tore my ACL a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it wasn't for the sympathy. I was just giving context. This is the first summer that I can remember where I haven't had soccer, where I haven't been playing. And so it's really just kind of like an all bets are off thing. Like, you want to go to France? Yeah, sure. I've been to France like multiple times, but I've only seen a soccer field. Like, I've never really been around, so it was just really exciting to come and do something.
And when do you, first of all, apologies about the
Thank
ACL,
you.
that's so hard. When do you expect to get back in the game?
I'll be out for the rest of the year. I'll be back next year.
These are more realistic
Better than
expectations than my Aaron
Thank you.
Rodgers Jets. Midge, Rich, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Y'all are incredible. Just to review some of the things we talked about, Midge, it should be about business when you're making these investments. It's not about, and nor do the players expect it to be a goodwill thing. When we asked about storytelling, you either have it or you don't. Clearly, you absolutely have it. Rich, built the brand for 4 years. Now you're here to make money. I think we can all learn a little bit more about
Didn't
that.
sound good that way.
No, it sounds like you're focused on the brand first, which is also kind of what we're here doing too. Deep Blue just launched. We wanted to be out here to get the brand out first and foremost and do good work more than anything. I love that we have someone from New York and DC, the two cities where I split my time. And then last but not least, impact over metrics. I think that's the whole reason that we're here today. So Midge Purce, Rich Kleiman, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.